The two target cars getting away a little bit.
That's right, and Paul Tracy, if he's going to make any impression here on Gilles de Ferran in the championship, he's got to get past him soon, and right now, really, in other words, and I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Gilles de Ferran got onto the straight well, and he's able to run a lot richer fuel mixture, got a lot more horsepower at this stage in the race than have all those cars around him.
I wonder if Montoya made a mistake there, dropped back from Vassar and seemed to weave around almost as if he'd brushed the wall and was checking the car. De Ferran right with him now, so I don't know whether Montoya did something wrong there, but certainly dropped away from Jimmy.
Yeah, he either glanced the wall perhaps, Ben, or else just got a little bit wide and got some of that excess rubber, some of those excess marbles onto those tires, who just weaving around to throw off those extra bits of rubber. Whatever it is, lost a lot of ground to the race leader, Jimmy Vassar.
And now you're looking, that was the view from on board. Look, we've got a big pile-up, a huge pile-up, and let's hope we can get cars out of the way here. Otherwise, and this is disaster for Michael. We had almost the same situation at the same corner in the Indy Lights race today when Johnny Kane's gearbox went and they all went off on his oil. Tagliani's there, Kenny Breck is there. That's an
started. We've seen already Nakano and Servier, who are also held up in that melee. They have got going again. They've come past. Kenny Breck's engine seems to be stalled. Let's get a replay here. Coming into turn 7, this is Montoya leading the pack. We need to look farther back down the top of the screen here. We can see what happens.
Yeah, let's see if we can see in the background what's going on here.
Pulling there to the inside line. Not quite sure.
It's going to happen in the bottom of the picture. Something's going to happen here. Arno and Kenny Breck just piled straight into the back of the car there of Alex Tagliani. So desperately disappointing. We might have another view. Yeah, it was those two that tangled. Look, here comes Kenny. Oh, straight round and into the back of the car there. That is disappointing indeed. Nakano managed to back out of it, but it was Tagliani, and oh dear, Tagliani has
once again
certainly had some criticism this year, hasn't he? All sorts of bits and pieces, and that's terrible news. Michael Andretti, his day really is all over now, and as he came into this race third in the championship, this is desperately bad news. He said before this weekend, he was saying that if he could get a reasonable result here, he'd be in great shape for the Chacal. He has not managed to score serious points here. So it's still Vassar, Montoya, de Ferran, Paul Tracy in 4th, Castroneves and Fittipaldi in 6th.
And these yellows absolutely what Target Chip Ganassi Racing needs, of course. Also, they've got a lap car there in between themselves, or at least between the two of them there. The lap car now of Cristiano D'Amato, who is in between Vassar and Montoya, and effectively protect. There's Michael Andretti. Boy, you've got to feel sorry for him. We don't know that it wasn't his fault, but we don't think it was his fault. We think he was hit from behind by Alex Tagliani. And poor Michael has just had absolutely no luck. Last week, or 2 weeks ago in Gateway, was just a criminal injustice there was served on Michael Andretti. He was running out absolutely brilliantly at the front of the field until the engine blew, just sort of 50 miles or so from the end. And look at this, a big traffic jam here.
This is worrying because, of course, very easy to stall the engine as engines get too hot.
What on earth? He was trying to get going, and no idea what happened.
Not good news at all.
Where's D'Amato?
Everybody trying to get through there cleanly and try not to stall the engine. That is not easy.
The first 3 cars got through there, plus D'Amato, who's there was a couple of laps down actually. And now here comes Paul Tracy and the rest of the field. So no idea what happened. Hopefully we'll get a replay of that.
It does seem strange because they seem to as though they cleared the worst of it by then. So I can't quite see what was going on there. But as it is, I think everyone's managed to get round safely. Kenny Breck's just made it back into the pit lane as the spectators enjoying this race. Well, maybe not all of them, but generally it's been a very up and down race. Plenty of interest as we wait to see who's coming to come out on top, and still really no idea. I mean, Vassar and Montoya, as you say, they're being helped by this long yellow. Their fuel consumption won't be such a worry. De Ferran will be able to turn.
So on Montoya does. We've said well, I was saying coming into this race, if Montoya can win these last 3 races, which is absolutely conceivable, he flies on every single track, but if he has a little bit of luck on his side, no question, he can win each of these 3 races and get as many as 60, well, he can't get the point for pole here, or the most laps led, but he could get 64 points out of these 3 races, and he's nothing like that far behind in the points. He was only 31 points behind coming into this weekend, so he's very much in the championship reckoning. However, Gilles de Ferran just needs to maintain that position. We'll look at the rookie points there, and Kenny Breck's all but got that tied up already. He's 62 points ahead, so there's virtually no way that Oriol Servier can catch up with him. And there's poor Michael Andretti. He's lost 2 laps.
Yeah, horrible. Let's we get another look here, but again, we don't really see what caused it in the first place. We just know that the two of them tangled.
Yeah, and going into that lap, certainly Michael was ahead of Tagliani, so we've got to assume that there's Kenny Breck there, and it was Tony Kanaan that squeezed through on the inside.
Do you see Michael?
Championship, and of course, yeah, he comes into the pits now in front of us, and there's damage to the right front of that car. They'll change the nose on the car, but all hope is lost here for any significant amount of points haul for Michael Andretti. And look at him shaking his head there. He can't believe it. He stalled the engine. He knows he's kicking himself for that. He's also going to kick Alex Tagliani when he gets out of this race at the end of the day.
Michael didn't look that impressed that the team wasn't ready to receive him. Actually, I think he wants to stay in there. You never know, he can still get a point or two depending how many cars go out at the end of the race. So the Target Ganassi cars are still leading here in Houston.
Dolmio Just Heat and Serve sauces are different. Different on the outside and on the inside. They could tell they're easy to use. Just heat and serve, and you'll soon tell they're fresher tasting and delicious. New Dolmio Just Heat and Serve sauces. Learn the Italian feel for food.
If you're single, or even if you're not, you'll always be welcome at the Singles Bar. People call in every day looking to chat, get a date, or perhaps something more. You'll find the Singles Bar on 09069 12 13 12. And we have thousands of callers every day looking for fun. So why don't you join them on 09069 12 13 12. Call us now.
Car still heading slowly around behind the pace car at the moment as we wait for this race to get underway. 18 laps are left to go. They should be able to get those 18 laps in within the 2-hour time limit. It's going to come fairly close.
Yes, it is.
Because at the moment, well, about 15 minutes.
It's going to come very close, in actual fact, you're right. 15 minutes or so to go, maybe 18 minutes. We started at 4 minutes past, didn't we? So, not sure where are we. I have a counter, an official counter there, but my reckoning we've got about 16 minutes to the hour, and another 4 minutes after that, so 20 minutes to go, and it takes just over a minute a lap, as we've been saying, just almost exactly a minute a lap to get around here. We see Michael Andretti after a couple of pits rejoining the race. Meanwhile, we are getting ready for the green flag, and the two Target cars out in front, Ben.
Here we go. Jimmy Vasser leads. Juan Montoya. De Ferran tries to get going in third. Look at Paul Tracy.
It's a lapped car.
Yeah, it's a lapped car. It's a lapped car of Cristiano, I think it is. So no problems there for Tracy, but he had to get past it quickly to stay on terms with the leaders. Listen to the wheel spin from Montoya as he tries to stay with Vasser here. Vasser was a little wide, but it didn't seem to hurt him too much. De Ferran sideways in third place onto the backstretch. Big overtaking opportunity here, perhaps for somebody. Michael Andretti touring around in front of them. That's going to be interesting as he's just come out of the pit lane. But Vasser still ahead of Montoya with De Ferran sitting in third.
Yeah, and there is Gilles de Ferran there, binding his time at the moment. He doesn't want to make a move too soon, perhaps. And as you say, Ben, I think he's going to pretty much. I think he'll be happy to settle for third place. There's no point in overstretching himself to get another couple of points for second place. And he's got to presume that the Target cars now can get to the end of this race without making another pit stop. And that being the case, there's not really much point in sticking his neck out for the benefit of 2 extra points. However, Paul Tracy behind him might not have the same opinion.
Let's hear from Kenny Breck now.
Did the accident develop ahead of you? No, I didn't. All I saw was the back of a player's car when I had about 5-10 feet left to it, and now maybe 20 feet left to it. That was all I had. I just saw it, had a little time to react, but you know, when you're going 100 miles an hour, to get to a standstill is not going to happen.
In this heat, how are the track conditions?
Actually, it got better and better, I thought, but my car was loose at the rear under braking, so I had a big problem going into corners, but got better and better grip coming off at least.
Thanks, Kenny. We'll see you down under.
Thank you.
Next race taking place in 2 weeks' time, Surfers Paradise, and another street course race, slightly different. There's more flowing corners perhaps there in Surfers Paradise. For the moment, we're concentrating on events here in Houston as Jimmy Vasser leads this race as he comes around this time. 15 laps to go for Jimmy to try and take his first victory of the season, and boy, would it be a good time to do it with a drive for next year that he's chasing. Various different teams he's looking at to try and get a drive for next year. His last victory came at the end timing if he could try and take the victory here. He's going to have to fend off his teammate, and they're going to have to both watch out for Gilles de Ferran, I think, as we continue. But having said that, de Ferran definitely has dropped back a little bit, 2.5 seconds behind Vasseur now.
And that's very surprising. I'm not quite sure why that would be. It's all very well being conservative, but he certainly shouldn't have any fuel concerns. I mean, he's made that extra pit stop, and he's had some caution since then as well, so should have plenty of fuel to get to the end of the race. And I'm not quite sure why he wouldn't try and put these two under pressure and try and make them run out of fuel, perhaps. If they had to use up too much fuel to stay ahead of him, maybe they'd have to make another pit stop in the late stage. It's not very likely, perhaps, but you never know, and you might as well try and push the guy, and maybe he will make a mistake.
That's right, and lap times for these two leaders, not that quick, really. 62.9 for Montoya. Remember that de Ferran, with a fairly light fuel load, admittedly, was doing 61 zeros earlier on, so I'm surprised to see the pace not that quick. They're perhaps not fully up to tyre temperature yet. I don't think they would be by now. It's a very warm day.
Jimmy, fuel position 4.
Jimmy being told what fuel position to run on that car, as they still have to think about fuel consumption. Joel 1 Montoya getting very much closer that time.
Yeah, he is. He's certainly beginning to put some pressure on Jimmy Vasseur. They're coming now they're coming through the twisty section here. This is coming into turn 7, and there Montoya and Vasseur looking very good out of the front of here. He's got to keep his head about him now and should be in good shape. But Juan Montoya, he wants those extra points. He thinks he's well in the battle for the championship, and he wants to get as many points as he can.
Yeah, but he's going to have to fight for it. There's no way that Jimmy's just going to let him go past here today. He's got a lot to prove, and this is they shared wins in 1997 and 1998, and then of course Montoya coming into the team last year, and Jimmy hasn't won a race since Montoya has been a part of the team. They have a reasonable relationship, but it's nothing like the close affection between Jimmy Vasseur and Alex Zanardi, and we'll have to keep an eye on that, but they certainly would love to be teammates, I think.
Yeah, they certainly got along great together. Fast friends in every conceivable. We've become used to that over the last 5 years.
Yeah, certainly have. Didn't look like it was going to happen today, though, for a little while. But it's run well for them. It's fallen into their hands a little bit. They've been up front all the way through the race, and fuel strategy has certainly worked to their favour. We talked about Fernandez being in good shape later. Michael Andretti still going around. He may still get a point or two. He's down in 13th place, is Michael. But
he's a lap behind the guys in front of him, as we were told there. There was Tom Anderson on the phone on the radio to Jimmy Vasseur there, and his fuel position there. I'm not quite sure which way they do their fuel numbering system, but they generally have about seven markings, 7 different settings within that cockpit on the steering wheel.